Nightmare Wallpaper by artist Pak Sheung Chuen, and also edited by our curator Freya Chou here. Okay, you cannot hear me? Okay, great. So thanks for coming. And today we're going to have this nice gathering to share. Microphone. Ready? Is it ready?
"千万卓越演讲机，蓝牙模式。"
This should be good now. Okay. How about this? Okay. All right. Come on in. We have more seats here. So tonight at the book launch, we're very grateful to have both the artist of the book and also the editor of the book here with us, and we're going to have this talk to learn more about this book as an artist practice, and also to learn about your thoughts on making this project happen. So after this, we're also going to have signing events here. So today we have all the new arrivals of the books here, and if you're interested in purchasing, today we have a special price of 300 Hong Kong dollars for the book, and the usual price will be 330. And if you want a signature from the artist, please go ahead. So shall we start? Yes. Okay. So why don't I just ask like a starting question of how did you start making this book project? What is kind of the reason to motivate you to start doing it?
Okay, so hi, I'm Freya. This is Tozer Pak. I think maybe we can give it like a short introduction how this project begins for those of you who are not so familiar with this project at Parasite. So 2 years ago, at that time I was working at a Parasite. So especially today, it's a bit emotionally coming back after living in institutions, feels like coming home, and especially with this project because I'm originally from Taiwan, and in 2015 I moved to Hong Kong, work at Parasite, and Tozer, because we know each other a long way back, and at that time he's been telling me about this court cases project that he's been doing since 2014, because that was, I think people from Hong Kong will know that 2014 is a very, the city is encountering a very important unsettling movement, and that umbrella movement also put Tozer into, before when we talk about it, I always said that you were falling into a depression, but he's actually not. People thought that you were really sick at that time, but he was just basically feel depressed and frustrated with the movement, and he stopped practicing art since then. And then there was a time that he started going to the court to listen to court cases that activists being prosecuted by the Hong Kong government. I think later on he's going to explain more how this process began. And so he's been telling about this project, and in 2017 we did an exhibition at Parasite. It's called the Two Exhibitions, which is two artists solo show. One is Pak Sheung Chuen, and another is Chris Evans. And that was the first attempt that Tozer get together all the information and documentations, and later you would see from the book that how he transformed what he learned and gathered at the court and transformed in different art forms. And this artwork can be a wallpaper, and it's objects and seals. And so that exhibition is an attempt to have an artist, through the power of art or making art, to help him from a very depressed and frustrated period of time and be able to gain the forces and become an agency in the society again. And so after the show opened, we had an idea to turn to make a book about the project, and that's joint solidarity with the designer, also a very famous artist, Firenze Lai, who are not here with us today, but in spirit. And so three of us had a conversation to turn Tozer's project into a book. And that was at the end of 2017. And so through the arc of the time, there's a lot of like journeys and waves up and downs through the process of making this book. So it was like in 2018, we started planning the structure, how this book should turn into, because Tozer just has massive amount of information and archives that he's gathering since 2014 until the time that I was speaking. He just regularly goes to the court to gather a lot of information, and how you can turn that into a book project, which is very different grammar than making an exhibition. So we had a lot of discussion at that time, and so this at that time sort of a timeline, a deadline, that there are several like key cases that he wants to still want to attend, especially with the Joshua Wong and a lot of those people being prosecuted because the Occupy Central at that time. So we kind of set the deadline until end of 2018. And in 2019, we got an invitation in Taipei to touring the show, the tour exhibition to Taipei. And we had another like iteration of how this project can turn into another edition of an exhibition. So initially, the idea of the book should end at the exhibition in Taipei, which was specifically focusing on the case of Causeway Bay bookstore owner. But then things just happened. That the show opens in June in 2019, and after we came back from Taipei, both of us, we were ready to work on the book, and things just happened in the city, which is just struck us into another level of shocking, and how this book can respond to the currency that they were facing. And that was maybe later on we can go through that. So, so this book is not just, it took us a really long time, like 2 years to work on that, and it goes through so many ups and downs that we couldn't catch up with the reality, and we have to change our strategy. And then both three of us were also delving into a very emotional journey, and particularly Tozer and Firenze, because at that time they were on the front line every day, while at the same time we still need to, you know, put our feet together to work on this book. So I think today now, seeing the book printed here, with 500 pages, it's very emotional for three of us. I think I would really like to thank Cosme and the team at the Parasite that's not pushing us, giving us the pressure to have the book ready, need to be ready by a specific deadline, but give us the freedom and luxury to really work on book, because we think, you know, a book is a book. Once it's printed, it's there forever, and to be able to have such a freedom and support from the institution is very important.
Well, 我英文麻麻地 so I will try my best. This book actually take a very long time to see how thick it is. And if you open for the first page, that is...
You can pass some copies.
This page. Actually, it is the first page I did for this project. I go to the course, and what reason that day I go to the course. And I find out the court give me a lot of feeling that I can be very calm. So start from that day, I almost regularly go to the course. And if you compare with the book I published before, this one, this is the first book I made for my project I did in Hong Kong, you will feel that this is really different. Between that book and this book had a very big gap in between of them. And in that period, that is around the time 2003 to 2009, almost that period. My feeling in Hong Kong still that, There's a lot of opportunity. And I'm quite positive to looking at everything. And I have a column in the newspaper at that time. So the job what I'm doing is just go out to find out anything beautiful in Hong Kong and just show to the reader of the newspaper. And I can feel that my readers really love to read it. Because when they looking at reading my artwork, they have feel a kind of it seems you can see some positive things come out from this artist, and this is the feeling of that time. But I can't continue doing this once after starting from that period. That is around 2004, and I have a habit. I will put a notebook into my pocket, something like that, and this habit almost like start of 2000. That's the first day I do the report. I'm doing the newspaper, and because in the newspaper period, I need to have a lot of artwork to show in the newspaper. So almost every week, sometimes one artwork, sometimes two artwork. So you can see how the frequency is there. So I had to use this kind of notebook to jot down some idea, so-called idea, every day I saw. And so I did it every day and put it in the pocket. And I remember when I stopped it. I continued from 2003 until 2014 in October. I was in the Firenze Lai of Hong Kong. And I find that I can't continue. It seems I don't have anything want to write down. It seems the world I saw in Hong Kong is not that positive anymore. So afterward, actually, I haven't did so-called artwork for quite a long time. And very soon, after 78 days later, the movement is down, and then a lot of people's feeling is going down with the movement. And I find that I can't continue, not only the artwork making, but also my daily life. And this is a very big problem. Every day you just want to sleep at home and don't want to wake up. And I don't know how to solve it. Just every day like that. And sometimes now the situation coming back is quite similar. You don't want to do anything. If there's a protest outside, you go out and you will feel active inside the people. And you like to hear a lot of political reflection or some radio program. People talking about the situation of Hong Kong, and it can fill up every moment, every time in the whole day. And this is a kind of epic. I think a lot of Hong Kong people now, or at that period, have the same situation that when you wake up, hear the radio, and hear some program about talking about political, and until go through every day YouTube, and then at the night, and then you go to sleep. And start again, every day happen like that. And one day I find that, I can't continue like that. It's too horrible. But I don't know how to solve it. But this is the chance that when I go to the court, accidentally, and I hear a court case, I find that situation can help me to change a little bit. Not only to hearing the radio program about political, but you can calm down in the court. And I find out there are several reasons. If you see the drawing that I did in the court, there has some characteristic. You can see always I draw something, I will describe something, and I write something, but the word I'm writing on the notebook, supposedly you can't read about it because it's, even though sometimes I can't read it. I just enjoy to writing and let the pen go. So the most important is that part. You can find that a lot.
Maybe we can give a bit introduction that how people should read this book. Yeah, because I think maybe it will help you to understand what Tolstoy is saying right now. Because if you open the first page, there is no table of contents. There's only lots of codes, numbers. We intentionally, also we don't have a preface. The only introduction I have of editor's notes is in the back. So we want the readers to start the book with a kind of a confusion. You follow, this is Tozer's logic. So the table of contents, you see the page numbers, and then there is all the court cases. And then we divide into 4 chapters with colors to identify it. So the yellow one, it's about Occupy Central. And then the second chapter, which is pink, no, red pinks, that's the Mongkol riot. And then the dark purple chapter, that's a selected letter exchange with one prison inmate. Later we will explain. And then the last chapter is selected writings of the columns of the Mingbao that Tozer has been contributing since 2014. So the only and then in each chapters we will begin. So we begin with, you see the colors just begin with this chapter. And then the first page is the code and the decoding. We will explain to you what each letters and each numbers, what does it mean, to help you to understand. And then so on each side, you will see that's the court case number and decoding. And then begin with, this is all the drawings are scanned by from Tozer. And then you see the changes through the pages of how each symbols would transform into different art form. This will either turn into wallpaper, and then what does the symbol on this wallpaper means relates to specific event. There's a short descriptions of personal writings by Tozer. So this is the logic for you to understand what the book is about. And then in the back, so it also includes some exhibitions, installation view, and how this journey since 2014, all this symbols and drawings and turning to different exhibited at different exhibition formats. So so this is we call it an artist book and not a catalog. So this is, you can understand the logic and the thoughts of Tozer's way of thinking and how he deconstructs all this information and turn it into an art form, and also through his very personal writings, either on the notebooks or published on the newspaper, to give people the understanding what each event it's about.
Yes. So when I go to the course, so what I'm really enjoying is just let the pen go, and afterward you can see that the image will be coming out. And actually I'm not very sure about what I'm drawing, but I just let the pen go, and then the image will come out automatically. But I'm really enjoying in that part is when the pen drawing on the paper, the layer of the ink, one layer and one layer acting on it, and afterward you can see that the paper is 2D, right? But if you draw lots of time, it becomes like a 3D mountain, and you can touch it. And what I'm doing is I really feel releasing when I'm touching that kind of drawing on my notebook. So I just continue like that almost every day, go to the course and then hear the court case. And something changed. One thing changed is I'm going back to the situation. That once you find that you are lost, and then when you go to the course, you hear the case, you see that you are going into the world again. And I think that situation you draw, I do the drawing, it helped me something. But at the same time, I hear it, the hearing in the course. I know more deeply about the case. That is also one thing very important. And other thing is, when I go to the courts, I really meet the people that they arrested or they prosecuted. So I personally know them. So the story become developed between they and me, and I have something foreign by this coming out. So in this book, you can see a lot of connection between a lot of people. I can give you some example. For example, I think everyone, if you are following the news of Hong Kong, you should remember her. Lai Ying. That is a really ridiculous case. That she go to protest, and then she was falling down on the ground, and then the bleeding coming out from his nose. But afterward, she was arrested, and then they let go. He prosecuted that she used her breast to attack the police. And I follow this case, and I go to the court. But accidentally, it's very interesting that after long times later, she became one person that I know impersonally. And yeah, I think it's page.
The 500 pages, yeah.
And finally, when I doing the exhibition, the last day of the exhibition, actually she come to my exhibition. But why she come? Not only because I invite her, because her role in the court case I did in that day of her case play a very important role in my whole project. And this is the drawing. This is the drawing that I do in that day, and especially this one, and I still remember that is the day that in Twin Moon Court, the space is almost like parasite, something like that. But the full house, a lot of inside the court, full of people inside there. And I want to go to the court, to inside to hear about to see her at the court and the judge. But unfortunately, because too many people, I can't go inside. So the people push me, and I can just only go to the corridor. There are the entrance. There's 2 doors before the entrance, and this drawing is done at that area. And I just let the pen go, so you can see that something come out very quickly. You can recognize. It's just like a nose, see, and it's something like breathing. And if I continue to use the ball pen to draw a lot of line, it's very easy to relate it to the breathing or something. So I think I very easy to recognize this is about her face. And this is something like that. But after half years later, I read the logo again, and I find that the day of the drawing is around 29th of July in 2015. But afterward, half years later, it's almost like in like the March of 2016, I read the notebook again. At that time, accidentally, I try to read the symbol, reverse it, and I find out there has another meaning on it. You can see a man at the back. There's a fire, and he seems use his hand to fight him or something. And that guy is masked his face. You see, just like that. And I remember what happened at that day when I was in the corridor, in the entrance of the court. And we are hearing about the case of Ma Ying, but beside me, there's a guy who is just sitting beside me. And he is that guy. His name is called Wang Taoyang, very warm. Now he was now he was now in Germany, and I think you know him. And he is the one play a very important role in the Mongkok riot. And this has happened after the Mongkok riot. I saw this image. So I find that this kind of looking at the image and give me a story, give me very important support at that period. You can say down there is so stupid, but I'm looking at the thing like that. But the way that I'm reading the story, reading the drawing, it really gives me some support in my thinking about the world around me. So I have that kind of thinking, and I go to the court again. So afterward, the drawing is based on that kind of thinking to coming out. So Freya is always complaining, I'm writing too much of interpretation about my symbol. But I really enjoy writing the story behind it, because it seems to give me a lot of mythology. I think at that time, or even now, I think we also need that kind of thing. Mythology. It helped me to break through the limitation of imagination. Sometimes we under the very high pressure of the political issue, we can't imagine the future. But that kind of drawing, in some way, helped me to break through some of the gap to do some imagination. And in this book, there's a lot of things similar like that. And I meet a lot of people, for example, Lam Zijian, and he is the guy that there's 21 staple on his leg after he claimed he was smuggling by the secret police from China. And I also meet Mr. Lam Wing-Ki, Lam Wing-Ki, the bookstore seller from the Causeway Bay bookstore. And he, the story is very long, but the one point I want to point out is it's really strange that the first time I do the interview with him, I want to know more about his situation in China. At that time, he was arrested, and then they put him in Xiuguan. He can't escape because his passport and ID card was not on his side. So I'm very interested about his life in that period because he's working in a library, and I have a lot of projects working in the library too. But in the interview, almost finished, there has a mobile phone call him from Apple Daily. And the Apple Daily journal, the reporter told him that, 基哥，你好快啲走啦。He said you have to escape because the government will soon pass the extradition bill. And that moment started the whole story afterward. And I find that this is not my intention. But I found that accidentally, I go into some history or some very important history of Hong Kong through the participation in the artwork. And something is not my will. And something, I think, the thinking at that moment It's very different from the moment now. For example, this one. We go to the hotel. He lived in China, and I go to his bed, sleeping on his bed, and I can't think today I dare to go back again to doing that kind of project. But it's just something like that. Accidentally, you meet one person, and then the frame open by itself. So I found that after I go to the court, the first drawing I draw, and afterward, day by day, I meet the people, and the people open another court case, and the court case open another people, and continue by continue. And until now, my network and my world become very big. And I connected with the Hong Kong history very, directly.
Well, I think this book will show you how obsessed Tozer can be when he dedicated into a project. That's what he was just mentioning, that he can, starting just going to the court cases every day and listen to what's happening at the court is not enough. He needs to know the person's being prosecuted. He would follow them for a couple times, not even introduce himself who they are. It's become really perverse in a way, but also you just follow them to Tasanting, will stole the utensil, the spoon they were using and then bringing back home without telling them. And then the next move is to introduce himself and then become friends and make friends with them. And then even visit those who, one particularly that in the book is very touching, the letters they exchange. And he continually being friends and support to those people he shares sympathy with. And then with the Causeway bookstore owner, because we did a show in Taipei, and then when he told me that he would do an interview with him and write about the story, I thought he's still an observer, but he's not. He went to Stockholm, rented the hotel, the same room, the room number, slept on the same bed with this guy, and then it was very spooky. That in the exhibition we have only one sound is knocking on the door, just the hotel door, because Mr. Lam told him that there was one night someone was knocking on the door. I think it was a documentary about his stories, so people can find out. And then so the whole exhibition, you just continually hearing the knocking on the door there. So this is obsession and how he put himself in the situation of those people. It's just something I seldom encountered from an artist. And he just mentioned that I wasn't complaining about your analyzing your symbol. It was just that it was very difficult to understand what he was talking about, because you read all the symbols. It's not just his writing is not just about daily routine. What he did, he's trying to tell people what he sees from all these symbols. But sometimes I just couldn't tell, because he would say, "Oh, there is big birds eating an elephant's head," and we're just where is it? Where is the elephant's head? Where is the birds? This is become a super abstract, and it's all in his imagination. But then somehow as he said, it's all these mythologies helps you to see something apart from the reality. And I think this project is so unique and make us very emotional. It's so close to the reality that we're facing every day, and especially this summer, that it kind of paralyzes three of us, because we did want to end the book with the story of Mama Gay, and I think it would be great. But then things just happened, and I think there was a time I didn't know how this book is gonna relate to what's happening on the street, because it's just beyond our control. And what does this book actually mean to Hong Kong? And for him, I think because he has been through the journey after Umbrella Movement, he was so depressed. and frustrated. But through this process of self-healing, he gained his own forces back, and that's how we did the show. But for me, it was like a story, it's a fairy tale story, that how an artist going through that. But I didn't fully understand the journey he's been through until for this protest this summer, and I see Toze is actually very optimistic. He has this like energy and this power. I didn't see he had a breakdown or like being so depressed and frustrated, because I think a lot of people have been through that emotionally, really drained emotionally, but he's really like gathered and solid in a way. And then I realized, wow, this is the process that he has gone through is really helpful. And then because our partner wasn't, because Firenze was like so like not able to function, it was just so into that. So it was very difficult for us. But then I think in the end, for Firenze also working through this project, I can't speak for herself, but she did eventually find a way to, I think it was a bit of like a meditation in the process for us to all through the process of making this book, and then help us to find another like energy to be able to come back again. Another thing is I just speak from the design for the designers. So if you look at all the drawings and the scanning of the Tozer's notebooks, the designer very insistent to have the printers, and also like a really brilliant printer that you can all see the trace and the marks in the book, which you can vividly see how at that time when Tozer was drawing, and some was like really, really hard scratches, as we managed to have it printed quite clearly in the book. And also the designer Firenze want me to tell everybody that you can really do the book like this.
You can do like this. It won't ruin it. It won't break it, because that's how solid the binding is. She really want me to tell everybody. Yes.
Let me speak one word in Cantonese because I want to express it more accurately about this. 我想用，因為其實本書你哋可以自己睇嘅。即係本書啲內容咧，都係好易睇嘅。咁但係我想講一件事嘅就係咧其實我嗰陣時做呢個成個 project 嘅時候，可以當 project 做啦，即係做咗成件事啦。even 去到最後同阿林生做訪問，去到本書其實啲 court case， 即係例如佔中九子個 court case 都審完，跟住Wallpaper Riot 嗰啲案件審完，咁我嗰陣時覺得我做緊嘅嘢好 face 面對緊嘅嘢係好重要，覺得呢件事我係唔可以置諸不理。但係當然嗰陣時嘅氣氛係完全唔同嘅，即係去聽嗰啲 court case 咧，好多時候得我同兩個阿嬸嘅，咁我哋真係去到係支持嗰啲義士。我阿嬸仲會喊啲咁嘅現象。咁有時嗰啲遊行活動咧，得嗰小貓3、4隻，即係我哋其實冇信心咧，香港係可以走落去。咁但係 once 6月9號之後咧，我呢本書係劈咗佢，個感覺有種咁嘅感覺，因為實在太大啦，即係嗰個成個世界呈現出嚟嗰件事已經。同雨傘運動同埋 Wallpaper Riot， 因為嗰陣時掟下磚嘅大佬，而家另一個世界啊！咁嗰個反差實在太大啦。咁當然你可以出呢本書 as 一個 prepare， 一個預備我哋一個狀態去而家呢個狀態。但係我覺得我記錄咗一啲嘢嘅，記錄一啲就係咩？就係當喺嗰個狀態底下，2014年去到2019年之間，6月9號之前嘅時間，大家仍然即係大家好似好灰心，冇辦法揾到出路，但係仍然死心不息嗰個狀態。我覺得我呢本書記錄咗落嚟。我 as an artist， 我 play 個 role 就係，我覺得我要佢哋去接近嗰啲同呢件事有關嘅人， 我做一個最直接、真實嘅一個記錄。但我相信好多人喺背後做緊嘢。That's why 有而家嘅狀況出現。我最記得有一次我去講 talk。I go to a university. I give a talk. And I talk my project about the Nightmare Wallpaper. And there is a student argue with me about the way I looking at the prosecutor. 我呢本書其實咧寫低咗我咧，其實好誠實㗎，即係我話邊啲人覺得係鬼㗎，邊啲人覺得佢肯定係鬼啊，咁我都寫埋到。咁但係你睇唔到啦，呢字太細啦。咁佢就同我講，其實冇鬼，但係我哋會出嚟。我嗰陣時好詫異啊，因為我睇唔到個 situation， 後生仔對香港仲覺得有希望，但係估唔到咧，係真係呢場運動就係後生仔嚟到去撐起成件事。咁喂，我講都差唔多啦。係咯，我即係大概係咁啦。咁大家可以有啲嘢補充。
係
Well, I think just to echo that. I hope I get what you were saying because the situations are very different now. I think that's also the discussion that we had, how to end this book. So we choose that day when 2 million people on the street, and we feel this is the spirit that we want to, the message that we want to send to Hong Kong now. It's just, we don't endorse violence, even though there is a different debate and discussion on it, but I think eventually we want our voices to be heard, but this is still, I believe, is the universal spirit that we want to convey.
Let's just reopen the Q&A session, and then if you have some question, and directly.
Thank you for your sharing. Would you mind talk a little bit about the timetable on page 408 and the few pages following? Because I think it is very interesting to systematically recording your feelings and the color and the numbers give us another kind of impression of the record. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I know what it is.
Are you saying 480? 480. Yes, okay. The timetable.
That is the most terrible period that I was, and I can't do anything at the time. But I remember that some of the habits that I did when I was in childhood. And I go to the church, and the church I go is really strict. For example, it's not allowed you to go to the cross the road with the red line. So I have 7 years. I never crossed the road. This is the red line, red light. So that time I have a habit. I draw the timetable, following every day. But this is a bit different. At that period, I do it in another way. That I'm recording what I'm doing every day. And after 1 month, 2 months later, I find that I can go to my life more regularly. So that is the way that I do it. And I give myself different color. For example, when I go to meet my friend, I will in blue color. Go to do some artwork, I will make green color, so not too much green color. and the pink color is something like I stay at home and sleep at home, so almost every whole day sleep at home. And it's very useful. I told you, if you have problem like that, you can maybe following me to do this. You see the color shifting from one side to the other side. And I just look at the color, and I feel very healing. So I would did it in the computer, filling in the color in the Excel table every day. And then 1 month later, I would print it out and then looking at it to see how my color is changing. And that is not only a artwork, but it's really useful. And at the same time, I go to the course. So both things work together at the same time. 我其實有少少偏心，因為我唔知點譯呢個字，偏指甲。But once I do something, I can't stop. For example, when I was in the university, once I find that the photocopy machine is really interesting, I do it every day.
Yes. I can show you this. So this is when the first our editorial meeting that Tozer just gave me a hard drive with all the files and then 3 pages of this. And then he just said, Fred, this is all yours. This is the book. This is something that I have to turn it into a book. He's just obsessed with like Excel files and filing and everything. And then on the hard drive, this one file can have like 5 different colors just to emphasize the importance. So this is how his logic of like the whole project, which is very difficult for me in the beginning, how I'm gonna turn this into a book. But then I think the drawing is actually helped because I came up with my own logic afterwards with the colors. I try to deconstruct your logic and turn into my logic. So this is funny. So this is Tozer's, this is mine, and then this is Firenze's. So 3 of us has a very different. So all the colors, how to categorize all the images and how this the flow. Firenze kind of have to take the liberty to decide how this book would turn into. So I really consider this is like a collective effort. So 3 of us have to go through different journey and then present it to you guys right now.
No, actually, I'm not really a logical people. But I like pretend to become logical. So you can see that when you saw the wallpaper, you see the seal. There's a series of coding or number behind it. It's very complicated. Only me can decode it. But if you can decode it, you told me I will give you a present.
Yes.
I can project. Yeah, I can project. I can read right now. I want to talk about your obsessiveness a bit more in relationship to this project. You are, as you have said, a very obsessive person. With each of your projects that you do, you tend to do a lot of repeat. I was wondering with this particular project, whether you found that your obsessiveness was different. That you obsessed in a different way. Like, was this project different in how you engage with your usual obsessive nature?
It's almost the same, actually. So I told you that I write the timetable. At the same time, I go to the course, and they come out at the same time, and when I have that kind of the obsession behavior coming out, I feel more comfortable. Otherwise, I just feel that I like a dead body at home. So that kind of repeating habit, it helped me to at least help me to doing something. At the normal every day. So, in
some ways this is like a collective work, right? When you're doing this to me, when I'm reading this and all the stories and how you bring these people together, it's almost like a collective memory of a trauma. And I was wondering whether in your usual practice do you work with people in the same way, where you collect and share stories in the same way, or was this a different practice where you had to collect stories?
Almost the same. Almost the same.
Almost the same. So
Almost
this is very similar to what
Yeah,
you normally do.
But the period is a bit. It depends on what period it is. At that period is different. And the period now and at that moment, almost the same.
But I think it is interesting because before the talk we were chatting, and then he said he found his previous project is more fragment.
Yeah, that's what I felt. This is
Yes.
more like a narrated thing.
I think it's because the duration of this project is like for the past 4 years, he's focusing on, and he's using the same methodology and a specific event. I think maybe because the movement took so long, so it feels like it's one project, but it has so many different events happening at the same time. While if you look at his previous works, that's a pretty fragmented because it has like a very fixed duration and it's a much shorter time frame, and also how he engaged with those people are different. But this is I think it has to do with the duration as well, and also aesthetics is already very different. I remember when I was discussing with Cosme when we were having the show with Tozer, and I say you can look at that his practice and aesthetics is completely different with the court cases and then the previous one that he has, and I think it has a lot to do with his his state of mind is also different because this is completely very personal thing. I think he didn't have like a strategy of think, oh, I'm gonna follow that person, I'm gonna go to the court, because everything happens by accident in a way. Like you didn't plan for it. You just have the urge, you have the need, because you also want to get yourself out of something, and then you just happen to find this is the way that you're not just obsessed with it, but also it helps you. You need to go deeper. It's like he's finding something and zoom in and enlarge and zoom in, and then he wants to go deeper to see what the problem is. And that also drives with his obsession with things, and he believes that there is something there he needs to find out. I think it's a slightly different from his previous practice. I don't know if you know. Answers.
不好意思啊，我真係英文太差，咁咧就我嘗試用中文講一次啦，可能呢啲。但係其實咧喺let me you cannot need to explain the rest of my English is not really good, sorry. 咁in between this book and that book also has another book happened in between. 一本好細嘅書其實咧就出版過，但係冇咩人知嘅呢本書。咁呢本書都係 Firenze 做嘅。咁其實佢哋好似嘅。不過係兩種質地。咁呢本書係做緊咩咧？就係咧，其實因為我喺報紙做嗰個階段咧，即係2003年到去到差唔多2014年咧，其實我係會帶住啲 notebook 啦，然之後啲 notebook 好似咁樣就寫低啲 idea 啊嘛。咁嗰啲 idea 咧，其實我用過1-2年時間去處理過其中1年嘅 idea。咁咧嗰啲 idea 咧，我哋會將佢抄咗落去，亦都係 Excel 表喎。將佢入晒落 Excel 表嗰度嘅，咁仲會咧分埋編號添嘅，咁就每一日有大概10幾20個 idea 咁樣，咁我會分咧就會分佢啲類型啦 ，quality 都分埋，有啲真係好渣嘅 idea 咧會俾0分。咁後來就用呢個方式嚟到做一個展覽咧，全部都係字嘅。咁其實呢個階段嘅時候咧，其實同而家喺法院嗰啲嘢咧好似嘅，就係、其實我袋住本簿喺個袋裏邊，咁我係等緊啲 idea come into my brain， 咁就作低佢。咁呢個動作係咁嘅啫，就一去行 come inside and then drop down。咁我去 cut 嘅時候做緊啲咩？都係攞住呢本簿，我企入去，但係我係坐低，成個 situation 我係 steady 嘅，唔喐嘅，成個 situation 係靜止嘅，我只係 listening，and then 我 let the pen go。書寫嘅動作唔同咗，嗰陣時真係寫字，而家係書係我唔知係咪叫寫字，但係總之不知不喐咁。但係喐完之後咧，佢會出咗個符號咧，好似隻字嘅，係一隻字。咁 我覺得佢有呢啲共通處㗎。其實我覺得我自己嗰個處理作品個習慣咧，其實唔係即係個方式上唔係好大改變，但係個心態上改變咗好多。咁所以我而家唔可以好跳躍地嚟到去做呢啲作品，因為我已經冇呢種咁嘅心情。個社會咁大，其實個社會咁沉重先應該跳躍多啲。不過個社會咁沉重，我真係跳唔起。咁所以我覺得嗰種沉重喺支筆嗰度就聚焦咗喺嗰張紙度係咁磨嘅時候咧，我其實係磨到將嗰支筆咧，你想象下嗰支筆，我係用嗰個 High Test C 0.4嗰支筆嘅筆水咁樣咁長嘅嗰啲墨水，有時畫一張稿咧係畫到咁樣少咗咁多㗎，係咁多嘅墨水落咗去張紙嗰度㗎，所以嗰張 drawing 咧係好厚。咁但係就係其實就係呢個過程，佢幫我書寫到或者 release 到某一啲嘅一種深層嘅我喺當下嘅狀態一種情緒出嚟。咁我唔知可能對其他artist有其他嘅一種角度同方向，但係對於我嚟講，一支好幼好尖嘅筆，佢又漏好少墨出嚟，但係我可以喺張紙度積到佢滿晒，一層又一層，佢最到最後好厚。甚至本簿攣咗，呢個係我其實處理我嘅作品，我同我嘅情緒同我個人嗰個身體構埋嘅其中一個關係。唔好意思啊。
You get right there. Do you have more questions?
我想問一下咧，你同 Freya 個合作，因為佢都係 artist 啦，咁你係咧自由放任去 design 一支愛啦，有冇俾到一啲 keywords 佢嘅？因為而家本書咪有啲似 Bible 嘅，啲同你嗰個 religious 可能有啲相似，嗰樣嘢係點樣發生嘅？
Actually, at the beginning, because the material is really quite a lot, so I select the material for her, and then I also make the sequence of the pages, which page by which pages, and then afterward, what she like to design it, and in which way, how heavy is the book, how the thickness of the paper is all decided by her. So basically, my concern is more about the reading sequence, the relationship between this page and other pages. But for the whole book, I think the idea has come out from her. It looked like a Bible, yeah, she said that before, but it looked like a Bible, that paper should be more thin. but it also looked like a kind of thing, it looked like a brick. Yeah. So the size is like a brick. I can kill you.
I'm just wondering if there are any differences between curating your works as an exhibition and as a book as it is now. Like, are there any differences in the concerns regarding the approaches or the way it's presented or anything like that? Thank you.
Well, definitely, because making a book and making an exhibition has a very different grammar. And for a book, it's a linear sequence. As Tozer was just saying, we're concerning how people can kind of read about it. Because when an exhibition is more open interpretation, when we didn't leave a lot of, for the show we didn't have a lot of descriptions. And then the symbols and the artwork, the form of the art is much more vivid, especially for the wallpaper. You need people to, in the exhibition space, you need to see. It's surrounded by you, so it's a very different experience. But it's very interesting to work on one project for such a long time with the same artist, and then develop it with different form. It actually, even not just for the audience, but even for us, will have a different way to read, have a different perspectives of how this project is. And yeah, I think in terms of the sequence and the lineage, and of course, and that is very different. And I think that for the book, I always like to, if working with an artist would be able to produce and show, I will always want to produce a book, because you can read and understand an artist's project in more overall way of understanding, because the book will give you much more details and the thinking behind that, and how this these clues and these dots can connect with each other. And then we really want to from the size of the typeface of this book, we want it to be readable. It's because this is really, even though it's 500 pages, but we really want the readers to be able to read through page by pages, and you will understand there is actually a sequence, maybe from page 200, and suddenly connect to something 240. And this is because it took one artist 5 years to work on this project, and even he didn't realize that, like, Lam Ziking was experiencing in some of his drawings a much early stage already. It always surprised him till later on that actually this person keeps on appearing in his notes. So there is like a surprises and like a journey that you can go through that. And then exhibition, of course, that's a very different. And also, the selections of the works are also different.
Thank you. Question for both of you. Thank you so much for sharing this. I remember seeing the show here, and then maybe we had this conversation about monumentality, how the wallpaper or the motifs of that had a certain monumental scale at the time, and the vitrines were very big, and things were very heavy, or sort of there was a lot. And I wonder how working on this book and now seeing the result, having that on your lap, in a slightly smaller book, how has that monumentality transformed, if at all?
I go first.
Well, actually, it's a pretty surprise, because from the beginning, the quotation we gave it to Parasite was only 200 pages, and we solved the cover. So it's a very different.
And it's effective for Cosmic and Parasite.
It's a very different book from the beginning. We didn't think about the monuments. The idea we wanted to present, it was, yeah, so, no, it's very different, because I think the weight of it, but even by debating to have hardcover or soft cover, it's a lot to decide, because hardcover always give a very different feelings, and, you know, but the book is heavy, no matter what. Even the writing is very light, but it's very, I think in the beginning, three of us all want soft cover. We didn't want, no, it's definitely soft cover. We want something, you're the only person insists on that, exactly, so thanks to you. And we just said, oh, soft cover, we don't want like so prominent with the voices. But in the end, it was like 500 pages. I think it was, Firenze took the whole, she made the whole decision, because for both of us are actually, we're finding the way. But she really feels that, because there are two versions when we're deciding. We want either the cover is covered by the wallpaper, or to have seals on it. So if it's a wallpaper, it definitely needs to have soft cover, and then he wants to have like cases, like different versions. Like we want to have like 6 different versions of the wallpapers. But somehow in the end, we decided to have hardcover and with seal silk printed on it. And it definitely, I think, with the volume of the book right now, it gives this a sense of, I don't know, happiness in this, but I think it's a good happiness. It's not that heavy, you carry your burden, but I think it's something more solid, grounded. That's my feeling of it.
我其實都仲係想整到佢好大嘅。I still want to make it become monumental pieces, because, for example, this icon, this seal, if it is not projecting coming out in that size, the energy is not enough to show the people. But that book is the different. That book is something like my handbook. I think it want to show you that the first stage, how I treat the artwork, which is like a hand scale. But now, I think, actually, for example, the wallpaper, at that time I am thinking about how you can go to other people's home or the public space. You're looking at it, but you didn't know it is related to some of the very violent political cases. But you're looking at it familiarly, and then you become part of it. What I'm thinking is like that. But I think now you don't need to do it because the 連儂牆, the wallpaper, right? And it definitely do something better, bigger, more beautiful than that. So I told you that after the extraditional bill, my thinking is changing quite a lot on this project. And inside this project, I also need to thank you for Anthony Wong, because he gave me a chance to let my artwork to in his pop concert. And at that concert, I think it really did what I want to do. That is, the light shining on the symbol, and then the shadow cover for the whole stage. And I think light for myself is a very important element in this artwork. You can feel that the symbol, if you go deeply to digest about the meaning of it, it is very religious. I use a lot of religious terms to interpret about the meaning. So when the lights come, the power comes up. That is the first day of God to making the world.
I want to ask a question about book making. Is the way I read about this project, I couldn't even say it's a project because the whole setup and the whole structure is actually quite loose, I think, because it started with even not a project, right? And then it's, if you talk about chance and rigor, before is very structured, the rigor is before the chance, and the chance is the result of your rigor. I'm talking about the other works before. But I think this one is actually the random chance starts before the rigor. That's my take on it. Correct me if I'm wrong. And so that comes to making the book. And the book is a object with the sequence and with the narrative. How do you deal with the danger of a narrative that you have presented with this book? I guess that's my question. Thanks.
It's always very dangerous because there's no objective narratives. I think for when you make a book, it's always very subjective but we try to avoid that. So the way how we deal with it, it's from this massive sheet we make into categories. So it's based on timeline in a way, but this timeline is overlapping. So we start with Occupy Central and then Mongkol Riot, and there are also like small cases that we also we were thinking to put into, but it kind of also overlapping with either Occupy Central or with the Mongol Rights. So it's based on a very general timeline, and then we choose by case. And so the way the narratives actually falls to the last chapter. Also begin with this basic timeline, and we made the selection from 2014. There isn't the date is printed as part of the titles. 2014 September 28 to 2019 July 1st. So there's obviously intention that we end today on July 1st, but we changed the sequence to make this day, which is not happen on July 1st. We put it in the last chapter. So there is very personal decision that this is what the artist wants this to end. This is how the narrative wants the experience of this reader should end with this, because we talk about this. Either we end with the last one, which is on July 1st, is actually Tozer went home with a brick. After the protest on that day, he went home to pick up a brick. This can be the ending of the book. It's that the story is unfinished, and he carried the dangers with him, and he carried this burden with him. Or we can also end with 2 million people in solidarity on the street. So we kind of had a discussion on this, how we want it to end, but eventually this is our decision.
其實咧，我覺得咧，我自己咧比較追求轉多啲，因為佢好似而家有 situation 嘅，好似而家有 situation。其實嗰個故事係咩咧？就係7月1號，當大家遊行完之後去到煲底，然之後喺個煲底度咧，大家普遍好緊張嘅，因為咧話啲警察會衝嚟。咁喺嗰個 moment 咧，我仲另外同2個朋友，一個叫潘國榮啦，大家可能都識佢。咁咧，佢話佢中意問催淚彈。咁我陪佢陪一陣咯。咁喺個煲底，其實氣氛好緊張，因為嗰陣時已經有人衝咗入去，亦都講緊啲警察好快會嚟清場。咁我同另一個朋友就覺得要走啦，真係唔可以再留，因為我好似冒唔起呢個風險。咁我老婆都 call 我啦，喂，你喺邊啊？你應該走咯喎。咁嗰陣時其實大概應該，我估應該大概12月冇記錯。咁我同我個朋友就走啦，但係潘國寧冇走，佢真係要問催淚彈。咁就佢 stay 喺嗰度，我就同我朋友走，一路走，走到落去差唔多呢個中信大廈嗰個位嘅時候咧，望翻轉頭見到仲好多人，我前邊有一紮豬，唔想走，但我要走。咁喺嗰個狀態底下，我唔知係呢個直覺反應嚟。攞嚿磚擺落個袋度走，就係咁嘢。咁我估其中一個原因係我需要一種重量，其實唔係需要一種重量，係需要一種危險感。而嗰種危險感係我可以同當下嘅嗰啲人一齊同在咯。咁其實真係幾危險嘅，佢炒到死人，我係暴徒喎。但係我覺得呢個 situation 似而家。但係我哋傾完之後都係覺得，本書都係 project 翻，嗰陣時都冇諗過要 last 咁耐啊，大佬7月1號差唔多啦，係嘛？咁嗰陣時諗住，因為最後嗰個作品咧係我喺嗰個夏慤道嗰個天橋嗰度咧，佢哋一佔領咗天橋嘅時候咧，就成條夏慤道咧都佔領晒嘅。咁我揾晒嗰度嘅所有箭嘴出嚟，地下啲箭嘴，馬路啲箭嘴。咁喺啲箭嘴上面咧寫低，我就咁坐低寫嘅就寫低咩叫香港嘅 core value 咧？咁法治啊、民主啊、人權啊咁寫。咁嗰件事係好係一件事嘅，因為呢個就係其實我哋所有人加埋想要嘅嘢。咁最後就係 end up 就係200萬人散咗啦。最後大家都勸走咗啲人，唔好喺嗰度留喺度啦。跟住 close 翻咯，而我個 ending 係，我相信下次再打開嘅時候咧，香港會個 new pages， 咁會好 positive 呢件事。咁我覺得我哋想留俾香港呢個 positive 啲嘅嘢咯。咁但係答翻阿 Human 嗰個問題，其實我覺得我上本書咧初頭，其實如果我嘅編排咧，我想佢亂啲添。即係你而家話，即係好似冇啲 narrative 嘅線喺度咧，其實我想佢再亂啲。我其實想我啲讀者係要揾，但係因為再去到咁就真係好趕客啦。咁所以都有翻個 sequence 4 chapter， 而好清楚諗呢個 chapter 其實咧係可以睇翻之前嗰啲 chapter 其實係講緊啲咩嘢。但係其實我平時喺度讀緊呢本書嘅內容嘅時候咧，其實我喺我電腦裏面讀。電腦讀嘅時候就係 click 嗰啲 folder，click 嗰啲相放大嚟睇， 即係啲嗰啲一個 folder 又亂七八糟，即係我係用 MacBook 噶嘛，咁所以啲 folder 可以亂擺咁。咁其實佢係比較似嗰個狀態多啲嘅，但係攞書就冇辦法，因為佢掰咗條書脊咧，就有書頁嗰個前後次序嘅關係。咁而家呢個狀況其實我都 OK 嘅，我中意。
And the two stories, he was just saying it's all written in a book, so you can get a copy if you don't understand Cantonese.
So I think let's give everybody a little bit more time to interact with the artist, also editor directly. So maybe let's give a round of applause to Tozer and to Freya. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for making this project. So yeah, everybody feel free to talk to our editor and the artist, and if you want to purchase the book, you can talk to me or comment our intern, also share our intern here. He raised a hand, so yeah, you can approach us. Thank you so much for visiting us. Thanks.